Hey guys, good afternoon. I am Lady Bobannon. Welcome back to my channel. I am taking it easy today. Last night I went out to do some deliveries in the cold and I ended up making over $20. So, that's really good for me. I was just exhausted this morning. I actually slept till 7:30, and the only thing that woke me up was the dogs barking. So, I'm glad I woke up because I have to see my oldest daughter off on the bus. Anyway, I wanted to finally bring you the second video in my Divorcing a Narcissist series. It's called Plan, Don't Panic. I'm going to go into more detail about the individual resources that I use to get through my divorce. I do want to start off by saying that I am not a lawyer. I don't work in the legal field. I'm just someone who was pro se through my divorce proceedings, meaning that I represented myself. Now, I did end up talking to 3 people for consultations. The first one I paid a bit of money for just to get some basic advice and to think about my strategy. The second person was someone I actually ended up keeping on with me to continue to give me some advice and draft up some things and be with me through the first round of mediation. The third person was someone I thought about having come on permanently, but she ended up having some really bad communication. So when it comes down to planning, not panicking, the first thing you want to do is just to really seek out some good legal counsel if you can afford it. Even if you can't afford it, there's a lot of lawyers that will give free consultations. Now, the person I mentioned I had to pay money to, I thought they would give me a little more specific legal advice. It really wasn't the case. It gave me a little bit more than if I had just come for a free consultation, and actually at the end they told me that they handled clients who basically had more financial resources and higher assets. So it was a nice way of saying, we don't think you can afford to keep us on, so here's some basic advice. Good luck. Anyway, so you'll want to really search out a good lawyer that's going to help represent you through this. You don't want to panic and keep your head out of the game and lose focus of the bigger picture, which is to divide any property and assets you might have. And if you have children, you want to keep the focus on the children's best interests. Now, I will tell you that that's going to be hard because when you're divorcing a narcissist, they don't keep the children's best interests in mind. In fact, they fight you on just about anything that they know is going to be a contentious point between the two of you. If you're a woman and you've had custody of the kids, or if you're a dad and you've been the main one who's been providing and taking care of the kids, that person is going to throw everything they can at you, so you can't let that get to you. As I said in another video, you really have to think of it as a big business transaction, be very business-minded and logical, and really treat the other person not as a former partner, but as the other party. So, the first thing that you're going to want to do is just to get your documentation in order. If you have kids, get their birth certificates, social security cards, anything that has to do with their schooling. Get all of that paperwork together. I suggest scanning it and uploading it so you always have a copy on the cloud or in your Google Drive, something like that, because what you want to be wary of is your ex getting a hold of this documentation. If they need something from you, let them go to whatever agency or organization or authority, whatever, to get that. I wouldn't really hand anything over to them that they're not able to get. Okay, you really need to stop thinking that you're going to work with them and negotiate, because narcissists don't negotiate. Whatever they feel is fair, even if it's very unfair to you. So the next thing I'm going to recommend is that if you do have access to any joint bank accounts or any accounts that you have, such as gas and electricity, water, things like that. You'll want to take account of the login information. If you are looking to divorce a narcissist, you'll really want to separate yourself from that person financially as soon as possible. In my case, I happen to be the one who managed all the accounts and made all the phone calls, the utilities. So my name and my name only was on the accounts, except for Comcast and Verizon. We ended up splitting, and he went on his own line with the new supply. And with Comcast, he just stopped paying for that. So I took him off as an authorized user. It definitely helped make things easier, as I'm pretty confident that if my ex-husband, who I suspect is pathologically narcissistic, was in control of everything, he would shut stuff off or threaten that he would shut stuff off if he was so inclined to do so, if he had the means to move out. He didn't have the means to move out, so we shared the marital residence for a little over a year. It was a nightmare, but anyway, you'll want to get your documentation together, get it organized. If you're going to be representing yourself, it's even more crucial that you do that, because the thing with narcissists is that they like to make things up. They like to paint pictures that is going to feed into their false narrative of how things are and how they are. I'll give you an example. In mediation, we were discussing child support, and the ex tried to bring in some older pay stubs that reflected a lower amount than he was presently making. I called him out on that, and basically we ended up getting a more accurate number because I had proof that he was making more money than he was presenting in mediation. Another tip for planning instead of panicking is to not take anything personally that is said to you or about you. Now, you'll always want to get legal counsel on this as to what your actions should ultimately be, but if you're able to, I would block your soon-to-be ex off of social media, any social media platform that you're on. I would limit communication to email, text message, if they'll respond. In my case, the ex really stopped responding in text and emails. I mean, when he felt like discussing something, he would go ahead and text and stuff. But generally, I got the digital silent treatment. He felt that I wasn't worthy to be acknowledged, and he felt that whatever I had to say, just didn't matter. So why bother responding, right? Even if it had to do with, exchanging information that was a necessary part of finishing out the divorce. Anyway, so you'll just want to not get too upset. Don't worry about what they're telling, their side of the family and their friends. It's going to be all part of the smear campaign, which is why it's essential, in my opinion, to go ahead and block them. Okay? Now, the next thing is that you'll really want to research the court rules and procedures in your area. Even if you have a lawyer, it definitely helps to be familiar with the rules and procedures of your area. If you have the time, I highly recommend that you go sit in on a day that a court is being held for your particular court, because it helps you see how things are in the courtroom. Before my divorce, I hadn't been in the courtroom except for, like traffic tickets, and when we had to be present for just some hearing in regards to some asset division and whatnot as a result of the ex's father passing away. But other than that, I had never been in a courtroom, and I found that it went very fast, and you don't really have a lot of time to give your side, so you really need to be organized and prepared, especially if you're self-represented, and when you are lucky and blessed enough to be able to afford legal counsel, you still want to go ahead and be prepared and organized, and to be familiar with how to speak to the judge when spoken to, or how to answer questions, because it's easy to get overwhelmed and emotional and anxious. What I did before I had to go into the courtroom with my ex was to, one, get there early so I had enough time to sit down and relax and, not get too nervous. And, I won't lie, I was a ball of nerves prior to going into the courtroom. I was only able to relax a little bit, and when I saw him, I got a little bit more anxious, but then I just pretended like he didn't exist. Walked right past him, sat on the other side of the courtroom, and let things proceeded as they did. So, that's going to be it for today. I just want to go ahead and get out this video because I know I've been pushing it down the line. I'm going to go into more detail again about some of the individual resources that I use, but I do want to go ahead and give a quick shout out to 2 YouTube channels. One is DSD, which stands for Dad Surviving Divorce. The guy, Dwayne, who's over that channel, gives some great tips on going through divorce with a high conflict, toxic individual. He has a really good head on his shoulders. He's very relatable. I love Dwayne and all of his videos. The second channel that you really need to check out is from Alex Falcone, also known as The Proper Person. The Proper Person is the name of his YouTube channel. He really breaks down the legal system and gives some very common sense advice on how to approach some things when you're going through a divorce or a custody battle. So that's all for today. I'm going to go ahead and get back inside and finish watching the Fire Festival documentary that's on Hulu. I ended up watching the Fire Festival documentary on Netflix, and it was crazy. It was insane. I mean, if Billy McFarland isn't a narcissist, and I would be completely shocked. I would fall out. He checks off all the boxes: pathological liar, illusions of grandeur. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and finish that up as this is my day off. So I will see you guys later. Bye bye.